To talk through some scripting best practices, I think organization is the key. And some of the couple here are just how can you make things more organized and better, makes up 3 out of 4 of the points on this page, and wanted to talk them through. So the first one and two, let's talk through, and then we'll show you the last two in ACL. As to numbering your scripts, I would always suggest that you start out with a script name that does not have a number in it, because ACL will turn that first number into a underscore, and that's not desired. So you might want to have an A, a B, I guess you could have an S for scripting. But what I like to do is number them. So A01 is equivalent to, say, the first script in that series, and then AO2, etc. And that those scripts might relate to a given system or topic or objective. Then the B series, BO1, BO2, etc., may be your next set of scripting. What can otherwise happen, as we'll see in a second, is when you look in your ACL documents, you have all these script names, they're all over the place, and you tend to forget what those things are and how they relate. So this is a great way to organize. Another thing is in sorting versus pre-sorting. If you're working with smaller files, I find there is no difference between sorting and pre-sorting. However, if you are working with very large files, I would urge you to move more towards sorting the file first and then running a command without pre-sorting. So in ACL you have options in the summarize command, the join command, to not pre-sort the file. And what you can do in those cases is just to, in essence, deselect that, or in your script, don't write the word pre-sort, and sort the two files that you're going to join prior to doing any sort of calculations. If it's a summarize, again, sort the file first, then do a summarize. What I find is that in the joining, that tends to be where if you have very, very large files, this becomes an issue. So sometimes it's good if you're scripting and you're in there anyway. I find it's better just to sort and then run the command without that pre-sort option, and it more or less foolproofs the script itself. The last couple of items let's take a look at in ACL, and that is where you can edit dialog titles as well as the sizing of dialog boxes, just to make them a little cleaner and neater and maybe more standardized as you work through it. And then also in setting that particular folder, this is a great way to organize. I mean, aside from putting your scripts in folders, which is helpful, you can also basically determine whether or not your where the table will be exported to or extracted to if you're working in ACL. So again, let's show these. The last two are a little easier to show in ACL, so let's go take a look at that. Now that we're in ACL, let's go back to one of the scripts we were playing with before and take a look at say, the second dialog box. We could open that up. Now, one of the things you notice here is there's no title to this. What you can do is double click on anywhere in the dialog box area where this grid is, double click, and then you can enter a title. Select fields for standard deviation calc. And that will be written up above here in that title bar. Now, just to neaten this up a little bit, you can drag fields around. That's one option. Also, from a sizing point of view, if you have a certain size here, one of the things that you can then do is in basically taking a look at the entire dialog box, you can double click on it and change the width of that dialog box and the height in pixels. And this would be the way to do that in a more specific fashion. Then one of the other things you could do is where does the item that you say in this drop-down list, from a width point of view, you might want to always make it 200 as an example. And this one, make always 200. From a X and Y point of view, again, if you want things to line up well, notice here we have XY 36 124, This one here is 3640. So from an X point of view, it's set up properly. From a Y point of view, this one obviously is down lower, so it's 124. But they're all starting at 36, which is the X axis here, which is kind of, again, that. So you know it's lining up. It's sometimes hard to line things up by eyeball if you wanted to line it up perfectly. So this is a great way to do it by just clicking on it and changing that x-axis to wherever you want it. So again, these are just little points, but do help to make your dialog boxes a little bit cleaner and neater and easier to work with. Now let's take a look at this last point, which is I created a folder up here called ACL outputs, and let's imagine you're running a bunch of scripts and you want to be able to in essence save your files to those particular script folder ACL outputs. I created this set folder test script. So let's see what we're doing here. We set safety off, set folder, and then back / ACL underscore outputs, which is the name of that. We open up the paid file. We then set the date to that format so that we could create a pay year field. And then by grouping and extracting record, it's going to send everything to that folder in this ACL document. Now, on your hard drive, it's still going to be in the same folder that your ACL document exists, but the ACL outputs folder is where the input file definitions, which are these here, will be sent. And again, it keeps it a lot cleaner and neater. So, again, set folder is the command. Let's run that particular test. I'm just going to run it and just watch up here. Boom. It ended up putting those two files there. So again, that can be a useful tool as well, especially if you have many folders, many steps that you're running, and you want to kind of organize your results into one place or to many places, but you know where things are going when you do the extract. Otherwise, everything seems to show up in the tables folder, let's say in this case, and where if the paid file's here where you're doing the extraction from, everything is going to show up here.